There are 50 states in America. 49 of them let you pump your own gas. And in one of them, the most densely populated state in the country, you are legally not allowed to. Not discouraged, not frowned upon, illegal. And here's the thing, when you look at why New Jersey still has that law on the books, you start to understand exactly how the rest of the country lost something they've never really thought about since. So let's go back, way back, to a time when pulling into a gas station meant you didn't have to do anything at all. The era of the attendant. The word service station wasn't an accident. Gas stations spread across America in the 1920s and 30s. The whole point was service. You pulled in, an attendant ran out, often in a uniform because these were professional jobs, and they filled your tank, checked your oil, wiped your windshield, and kicked the tires. Sometimes they vacuumed the interior. You didn't get out of the car unless you wanted to. Major oil companies, Shell, Gulf, Sinclair, competed on service. Who had the cleanest uniforms? Who smiled? Who remembered your name? In the 1950s, this was as American as a drive-in theatre. A whole industry employed hundreds of thousands of people this way, and it worked really well. Until one day in 1947 in Los Angeles, a man named Frank Urich opened the first true self-service station in the country. No attendant, just pumps, a price board, and a sign that said, "Serve yourself." Drivers loved it. Other station owners were furious. Within months, most states had laws banning self-service entirely. Oregon did it. New Jersey did it. A dozen others followed. Self-service died almost immediately after it was born. But then, 26 years later, reality happened, the crisis that changed the math. October 1973, OPEC, the oil embargo. Here's what happened in about 90 days. Gas prices in the US doubled. Lines at stations stretched around the block. The government introduced rationing. Odd-numbered license plates could only fill up on odd days, even on even days. And gas station owners, already running on margins so thin you'd need a microscope to find them, started doing the math. Fast. Running a full-service station meant keeping 4, 5, sometimes 6 employees on shift. That was fine when things were stable. When gas suddenly cost twice as much and volume dropped and customers were furious every single day, it wasn't fine anymore. In the early 1970s, roughly 35% of stations offered self-service. By 1982, 9 years later, that number was 72%. In less than a decade, the entire industry flipped. The 1979 oil shock hit, gas doubled again, and that was basically it. States quietly repealed their bans. No debate, no announcement. Stations converted, jobs disappeared, and within a generation most Americans had completely forgotten that pumping your own gas was ever considered unusual. But crucially, not everyone, the last two standing. By the mid-1990s, 2 states were still holding out, Oregon and New Jersey. Both kept their bans. Both had fought off every repeal attempt. To most people outside those states, it looked like a quirky leftover law that just hadn't been cleaned up yet. Oregon cracked first. In January 2018, Oregon passed a bill allowing self-service in rural counties with fewer than 40,000 people. The argument was simple. Some rural stations had no evening attendance, meaning if you ran low after 6 p.m., you were stranded. The public response was something else entirely. Social media melted down. Oregonians were furious. "I've never pumped gas in my life," one person posted. "I'm not going to learn now." Local news ran segments like it was a natural disaster. This was a state being given the option to pump their own gas. Not a mandate, a choice. And the response was outrage. That reaction tells you more about this law than any economist ever could. Because the debate was never really about safety or efficiency. It was about what you expected when you pulled into a station. And in these 2 states, that expectation had become generational. There were drivers in their 50s who had never once pumped their own gas, literally didn't know how. And that brings us to New Jersey, which is a whole different level of this story. The 1949 law. New Jersey codified their ban in 1949, the Motor Fuels Act. The official justification was safety. Gasoline is flammable, and untrained civilians shouldn't be handling it at scale. That argument has always been a little thin. Every other state figured it out. But New Jersey has never needed a great argument, because the votes to repeal simply haven't been there. Legislators have tried. A serious push in 2006, another in 2012. Both times, polls showed the same thing. A majority of New Jersey residents actively did not want to pump their own gas, not because they couldn't, because they didn't want to. Which sounds baffling until you think about it for 10 seconds. You pull up, you don't get out of the car, you don't handle a pump in the rain or cold, you don't get gas smell on your hands, you just drive away. In a state where the average commute is brutal and the winters are actual winters, that stops feeling like a quirk and starts feeling like the only sensible option. 13,000 jobs. Here's the part most people miss when they're making fun of New Jersey for this. The state employs roughly 13,000 attendants across its gas stations. Real jobs, positions that go disproportionately to people who don't have a lot of other options. High school students, older workers, people between things. Every time repeal comes up, Labour advocates show up at the hearings, and they don't argue in the abstract. They point to Oregon. Rural counties lost their attendants, and those workers didn't move into better jobs. They just stopped working. New Jersey has looked at that math, 13,000 jobs at essentially no cost to anyone else, and repeatedly decided, we don't need to do this. And here's the thing about the price argument everyone always makes. The assumption is that full service means more expensive gas, sometimes slightly. But New Jersey's prices are consistently among the lower in the Northeast, not because of the attendance, but because of the state's relatively low gas tax. So the premium for service argument? Mostly not true. You're paying New Jersey prices for New Jersey gas, and someone else is pumping it, which strips away the last objection. All you're left with is, this is how it's always been here, this is how people want it, and there aren't enough votes to change it. Here's what nobody really talks about when it comes to the full-service era. These stations didn't die because America stopped wanting them. They died because a crisis forced owners to choose between staying open and keeping their staff. And once that choice was made at scale, once 72% of the country had already converted, the expectation reset. The culture moved on. The memory of what a service station actually meant faded so fast that most people today don't even know the word used to mean something. New Jersey never got that reset. They're not some backward state that hasn't figured out how to pump gas. They just never lost the expectation that someone else would do it for them. And honestly, I'm not sure who made the worse call. If you want more on the business of fuel, the stuff that doesn't get covered, subscribe. I do these every week.